Geolocated footage reveals that Russian forces have made strategic advances on the western flank of Hirnyk, successfully capturing the village of Izmailivka. Here, Ukrainian forces, potentially comprised of some of their most elite troops, have offered fierce resistance. For the past 2 weeks, Russian FAB aerial bombs and artillery have relentlessly targeted these positions, compelling a challenging defense. One Ukrainian soldier noted the difficulty in maintaining their ground as positions were continuously destroyed. Understanding the challenges of seizing these villages, Russia opted for a strategy of using small infantry probes combined with heavy bombardment rather than large-scale ground assaults. Once Ukrainian defenses were sufficiently weakened, Russian troops launched a swift offensive, overtaking Izmailivka within 24 hours. Their approach involved simultaneous advances from 2 directions and crossing a strategic bridge over the Selydove River, enabling them to extend in 2 directions in the village's southern area. This capture facilitates Russian forces' efforts to coordinate with their main assault units from the west, who are actively pursuing operations in Hirnyk. In the nearby village of Selydove, Russian forces have also reportedly advanced, occupying eastern residences and securing agricultural buildings in the northern part. However, there remains no visual confirmation of their claimed presence in the village's southeast region. Geolocated footage confirms that Russian forces have advanced northwest of Tsukuryne, strategically positioning themselves within the tree lanes. Details about this maneuver are sparse due to limited footage and information. However, the Russian troops likely established a forward concentration point in the windbreaks by the railway line, gathering small infantry units to advance along the tree lanes from east to west. Reports also suggest a northern attack vector that linked with their primary offensive strategy. Moreover, it has been confirmed that the poultry farm located on the western outskirts of Tsukuryne was captured, a development believed to have occurred 1 to 2 weeks prior. Multiple reliable reports indicate that Russian forces have progressed on the southern flank of Selydove, entering the village of Vyshnev. If confirmed, this movement suggests Russian troops utilized windbreaks along the railway line as cover from Ukrainian FPV drones and artillery, with the width of these windbreaks enabling larger infantry groups to stealthily approach Vyshnev, barring any Ukrainian trench defenses within the trees. It's believed that Russian forces have managed to capture at least 1 block of the village and have reached the industrial train station. This development implies that one of the 2 remaining supply lines into Selydove has been physically severed, complicating Ukrainian logistics in the area. Geolocated footage reveals that Russian forces have breached Ukrainian defenses in Selydove, reaching the city center. This advancement follows the resumption of Russian operations and the establishment of positions on the western bank of a tributary of the Selona River. The Russians capitalized on this momentum, moving through the city's eastern suburbs towards high-rise buildings where Ukrainian troops were positioned. The rapidity of this advance, coupled with scant footage, suggests that Russian forces encountered minimal resistance and that the eastern residential area has been contested for several days. This swift movement can be attributed to a dire shortage of ammunition and supplies for Ukrainian forces, as remaining supply routes out of Selydove are under Russian control or within their direct fire range. This situation reportedly forced Ukrainians to rely on drones for resupply. Moreover, Ukrainian troops have retreated from the field southwest of Selydove to avoid encirclement, an area where they likely had a minimal presence. Reports indicate that Russian forces have made advances in Kostiantynivka, likely marking a continued strategic push to consolidate their gains in eastern Ukraine. This advance appears to be part of a broader offensive aimed at encircling key Ukrainian-held territories. The capture of Kostiantynivka would enhance Russian control over the region and provide further impetus for operations against neighboring cities. Control over Kostiantynivka allows military forces to secure vital supply lines and potentially exert influence over surrounding areas, making it a key target for advancing forces. The Russian military's progress in Kostiantynivka may involve a combination of artillery bombardment, mechanized infantry movements, and the use of airborne or special forces units. Ukrainian forces face significant challenges in defending Kostiantynivka. Historical patterns have shown that supply shortages, limited manpower, and the need to defend multiple fronts can strain Ukrainian military capabilities. The advance in Kostiantynivka has several implications for the broader Ukraine-Russia conflict. It highlights Russia's continued focus on achieving strategic depth in eastern Ukraine, potentially isolating Ukrainian forces in the Donbas region. Reports indicate that Russian forces have made significant advances near Bohoyavlenka. This likely involves concerted efforts to secure territory and fortify positions as part of a larger strategic campaign in the east. In response to the advancing Russian forces, Ukrainian troops are expected to employ a combination of defensive tactics. The advance near Bohoyavlenka indicates a strategic thrust by Russian forces to consolidate territorial gains and possibly extend control over eastern Ukraine. This move might be designed to put pressure on Ukrainian command and control structures, disrupt logistics, and force a reallocation of Ukrainian defenses, replicating strategies seen in earlier phases of the conflict. The Economist reports that Russia may be preparing an offensive on Zaporizhzhia, with the city potentially becoming the next target for Russian forces in Ukraine. A senior Ukrainian official suggested that Russia might have already reclaimed up to half of the territory in the Kursk region that Ukraine captured in August 2024, which was Ukraine's only significant advance after the unsuccessful counteroffensive of 2023. The situation on the battlefield is described as grim, with Russia making considerable progress in several areas along the 1,000-kilometer front line, despite incurring heavy losses. U.S. estimates indicate that Russia has lost around 600,000 soldiers, either killed or wounded, in Ukraine. Additionally, Russian forces are reportedly encircling Pokrovsk, a crucial logistics hub in eastern Ukraine, and have gained control of elevations around Volodar. Beyond frontline events, Ukraine faces concerns about diminishing Western support. The G7 recently outlined a $50 billion loan, funded by interest from seized Russian assets, with a final agreement expected soon. However, potential political changes, such as a Donald Trump victory in the upcoming U.S. presidential election, could halt much direct military aid. A Kamala Harris victory also offers no clear assurance of continued support. Germany and France, major Ukrainian donors, have already signaled potential reductions in future aid. The U.S. Defense Department has confirmed that North Korean troops have arrived in Russia. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin stated that while the specific activities of the North Korean military in Russia are unclear, their presence is verified. This follows South Korean intelligence suggesting that North Korea intended to send around 12,000 soldiers to Russia. Ukrainian intelligence chief Kirill Budanov noted that the first North Korean troops were expected to reach the Kursk region today. Additionally, the Center for Countering Disinformation, part of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council, reported on the North Korean military movements from the Far East deeper into Russia, with plans involving deployment in the Kursk region, according to the center's head, Andrei Kovalenko, on Telegram.